everybody's head is bowed. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for another day. Thank you for waking us up this morning and keeping us in our right minds. God, I pray that you open our eyes to hear. Open our eyes to see and open our eyes to hear what is being taught in this class tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Now, yesterday, just reviewing stuff, are there any other questions about the different practicums? Did anybody having a problem or have a question about either one of the practicums? Okay, good. So now I wanted to talk about, these classes, you think about 2 hours and you think, whew, 2 hours. But to me, they go so fast because there's so much I want to get in, so much I want to express, so much I want to share with you. And it's like we run out of time. But motivation, like I was telling you all yesterday, that's my favorite class, motivation. And some of the things that we were talking about yesterday, and as soon as we kind of hurry up and went through some things, but I wanted to go back over and share some stuff with you from chapter 5. So I want to share the screen, and where is it? Okay. Okay, so can you see? Oh, I gotta do that little window thing. Okay, so now with I don't know why. There, and it's not letting me. Okay, and now with this about the motivation, self-motivation, and yesterday when we were talking, and I know someone was speaking about, some people say that they can't. How do you motivate? How do they get motivated when they say that they can't get motivated or they can't do it? And self-motivation, like I say, is important because it does not let you depend on others. Self-motivation it's up to you, and don't let anyone put you on this guilt trip that you have to motivate them. They have to want it. That's the first thing. They have to want to be motivated. They have to. Some people are satisfied with moping around, and in some cases that may be their defense mechanism. If they run around moping around, they know that you're not going to call on them to do nothing, because they're in this low period, so they have to want it. That's the first thing. And so yesterday when we were talking, you were saying they can't, and they can't do it. And my question, what was bothering me is, what did they want to do that they couldn't do? So I don't know who was bringing that up yesterday. I don't know if it was Christopher or Anthony, but what was it that they wanted to do that they could not do?
I don't think I was actually saying that people can't be. I was just trying to understand how some people can learn that skill, and a lot came out of the question. I'm a very motivated person. I don't need anyone, and those that knows me will tell you, I don't depend on no one to motivate me. I don't need anyone to encourage me to be motivated, because I have work to do, and that is enough motivation that the work needs to be done. I was just trying to understand how can people, because there are some people that I see around, there are some Christian people, we're living in a pandemic, people are living in fear, people need the Lord, but nobody's motivated to go tell people about the Lord. And I'm wondering how how do you get these people motivated? They're seeing what you're doing. They know the word. They know you need, but people are still just lazing around. So I was asked, that's why my question was, how do you learn that skill? You know, what kind of skill do you really try to teach people? Because some people just, I don't know. So I believe that everyone should motivate themselves. I think these sessions are very motivational as well, because it encourages, it gives you more tools to motivate yourself even more and to get work done. That's my take on this.
Yes, and like the last thing that's on there, say if it's to be, it's up to me, you know, and that's what everyone needs to believe in themselves. That you can't sit around and wait on somebody else and you wonder why this is not happening and why that's not happening. Why aren't you doing it? I know when my daughter went away to college, when I took her to college, and Anthony, I'll call on you. That my daughter went away to college, and we were crossing the street. You know, she went to Texas A&M, and we were crossing the street, but it had no no light there. It was just a stop sign. Well, it wasn't really a stop sign. And we were crossing, there was a lot of people gathered at that corner because we had to cross over that street to get to whatever building we needed to go to. And so I was telling my daughter, you know, there's no light here. And so you need to change that. You know, now she was just coming in as a freshman, you know, and so I'm telling her, you need to change that. And so she said, but Mom, you know, I'm just getting here. How are you telling me that I need to change it? I said, because you're going to get involved in this school. You need to change that. A light needs to be here and you need to make sure it happens. And before she graduated, there was a light placed there that she had initiated. She had become president. She held all kind of offices. So she was in the Senate, I guess that's what they call it. And she had recommended that they put a light there. But like I said, if it's to be, it's up to me. You know, you can wonder why things aren't the way they should be. And if they're not, then you need to do something about it and not always sit back and wait to see who's going to do it. Why don't someone do it? And so I want to, oh, wait a minute, Anthony, you had your hand up.
Yeah, yes, please. And from last class, so based on what Pastor Douglas mentioned, I mean, this is the ideal. This is what we are seeking for, that we would be self-motivated, that we will get going. But the fact is that there will be days, maybe when the best of us would not be up to doing what we need to do at the time. And so what I was saying is that we need to surround ourselves with individuals who know us and who knows what we're supposed to be doing. And so they would give us the nudge, they will give us the push. And so that's why I was speaking about some external motivation to push us in the direction that we need to go, because I mean, the best of us, not all the time that will be focused. And so we need somebody just to nudge us, to show us the direction at times.
Yes, and the thing about it, sometimes, and you just have to keep going, like you said about that external and internal motivation. Yes, you need people around you. Which is the next slide. You need people around you that, you know, have that motivation too. But a lot of times with you being a minister or you being the leader of that group, a lot of times they're looking at you to motivate them, but they're not looking at how they can help motivate you. I know when I lived in Indiana and I used to put on these productions, musical productions at the school where I was teaching, and I worked with over 200 kids, you know, in one performance, you know, and I had a few adults that was helping me, that was there with me to help and assist me. And I remember one time I just felt like I was just really getting down and depressed. And I would go to them and saying, I need you to help me because I'm feeling down, you know, help pull me out of this. And their response, this one guy, his response was, I can't do that. That's what you do for us. I can't do that. You know, I mean, and he was serious and he just walked away, you know, and I was like, I need help, you know. So you're right. You want to surround yourself with people that can help you. But just like I said, in this self-motivation, if they don't help you, then you have to pick yourself up and keep going because they're depending on you. They're going to come to you to help them because you are a leader. And so this next one was about how to do that, you know, is you're going to have to adapt a positive belief system. And like that first number says, it's not always easy to stay motivated, just like what you were saying. Sometimes we're going to get down. Sometimes you're going to be down. But that doesn't mean that you can't try. You know, and if you notice and if you see, you feel like, oh wow, I'm getting down. You got to do something to pick yourself up. And my answer has always been smile. You know, like this slide is saying, you can listen to music, you know, and that'll help you lift you up. I have a friend, and she had in the beginning of the COVID things, she contracted COVID. She's a younger person. She always called me mom. We used to work together. And so I was calling just to check on her, and she told me that she had COVID and she was at home. She never made it into the hospital, you know, so she was at home. And so I told her, I said, I'm going to call you every day. I said, no, I'm going to text you. I'm going to be in contact with you every day. I don't expect you to text me back. You may not feel like that. I said, but I'm going to stay in contact with you every day. That's the least I can do. I can't touch you. I can't come to you. I can't do anything, but I'm going to stay in contact with you every day. So every day I would send her something, and I would always say, smile, you know, keep smiling. And I would send her things to make her smile. You know, whether she responded or not, I would always send her stuff. I would send her silly stuff sometimes, you know, like a smile is just a frown turned upside down. So if you can't smile, stand on your head, you know, and things like that, you know, just something to make her smile every day. And when she finally made it through that, and she contacted me, she called me and she told me that when she went to the doctor was talking to her, because this was before the vaccine was out and all that stuff. And he was asking her, you know, how did she make it through and how did she feel and stuff? And she said, because I had a friend that made me smile every day. And she told me that smile helped her so much, you know. And so that's something that if you feel yourself down or getting depressed, find something that's going to make you smile. You know, that's something that can help. Christopher, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm not sure in the US you may have. I know you have mega churches, and I'm not sure if you are part of these large churches. Here in the Caribbean, our churches are not very big. And normally what you will find is just a minority of people that gonna get the work done in the church. Doesn't matter if your church is 100 or if your church is 10, you just find the pastor and his wife, and probably one or two other person that's gonna always be stuck with the book. I'm not sure if it's the same thing, you know. So I believe a few things here. I think that leaders, when God built you as a leader, He built you with some tenacity. And yes, there's the off days when you're gonna get, like Brother Anthony is saying, there's the off days when you're gonna feel, I can't handle this today, I'm tired. But because you're a motivated person, even if you are off that day, that does not stop your motivation. You just probably refueling for later on. So we don't have what it takes. A lot of people around us to motivate. I'm not sure if you have it, but you don't get a lot of people around because of the sizes of the churches and the small amount of people. So I believe that the leaders have to be motivated, have to be like David, encourage yourself in the Lord, because you got to get this done. You got to touch lives. You know what the plan is. And I think that has to keep you going, because, sorry to say, there's not a lot of external motivation for a lot of groups. I'm not sure the other pastors here can say, well, they have a lot, but I know what I'm up against. The people around there come and eat, but hear what? You cook the food and then you have to wash the dishes. They just eat.
Yes.
That is normally what working, doing ministry is like. So you, the leader, have to keep yourself motivated.
Yes.
Put a binder on and keep yourself motivated. Thank you.
Yes, and the thing about it, you're talking about the small churches and the big churches. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter the size. Only about 20% of the people is going to be doing the work, and 80% is they're just there. So if it's 10 people, you got 2 people that's probably working. So that, and so, Dr. Catherine, you had your hand up.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me go on. And so this one, the things that you can tell them, the techniques for self-motivation, is get out of your usual comfort zone. That's one thing. Some people get so comfortable that they don't have any motivation, and they're comfortable and they don't want to do anything else. Finish what you start. I have a cousin that he will start all kind of stuff at home. He will start, you go over to his house and you can see all these different projects that he has started, and he hasn't finished anything, but he starts, he start cleaning his pool in the backyard, never finished it. He started putting up some blinds in the house, never finished it. He started doing some things in his front yard, never finished it. And he had all of this stuff, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But all of these things that he had started, never finished anything. And then another thing is to educate yourself. That's another way to get motivated, is that you educate yourself on things. If you don't know how to do it, you can learn how to do it. There's all kinds of stuff on the internet. If it's something that you really want to know how to do, you can do that. And this, where am I? Okay. And the main thing is you got to believe that you can do it. Because if you don't think you can do something, you can't. If you telling yourself, oh, I can't do that, you can't. You got to believe that you can do it. Even if you can't do it, you got to believe that you can do it to give yourself a running start. But if you already feel like, oh, I can't do that, you can't. My grandmother, when I was studying, I'm in college and I was working on, I'm at home going to school, and I was studying, doing something, and one of my brother or my younger cousin came to me, and they was doing this new math. I didn't know what they were talking about. Math has never been my thing. And so they came to me and they were saying, could you help me with this? I don't understand. And so I looked at it and I said, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about new math. My grandmother went off on me. And my grandmother was saying, don't you ever tell these kids that you can't do something. You're a college scholar. And if you say you can't do it, they're not going to even try. So you take that book and you read it from the beginning until you get up to where they are, so that you understand what they're doing, so that you can explain it to them. And don't you ever tell them that you can't do something, you know. And I took that book and I started reading that book up to where they were, so that I understood what was going on, so that I could teach them or tell them how to do it. But like I said, and she told me, don't you ever say you can't do it, because if you say you can't and you're a college scholar, they're not going to even try. And so, and if you tell yourself you can't do something, you can't. And so you have to believe that you can, you know, and remember the rule, you have to want it. You know, you have to want to do it. And this last one that I want to go over is about the motivation. You know, as far as this one wasn't all that. Everybody understands this, but the motivation. A lot of times when you see people in your audience, your congregation, they maybe nodding out and stuff. In first case, you think that, okay, they didn't get enough rest, they didn't get enough sleep. But sometimes it's just that maybe the message is not relevant or interesting to them. I know when I was in elementary school, and my imagination would be gone, and no matter what the teacher was talking about, I could get into that story. I could get into whatever it is. I can place myself there, and I would end up daydreaming off into something else, you know, and I would go to sleep, because, and now I realize that the teachers did not arouse me. That, you know, they wasn't, what they were talking about wasn't arousing me, but they would send notes home to my mom and say she's falling asleep in class. So my mom would make me go to bed earlier and earlier, you know, and I would go to school, and I want to tell them so bad, I'm just not interested in what she's talking about. I have plenty of rest. It got to the place where I said, dog, all I would do is go to school, come home, go to bed, you know, because she was always said, okay, since you're falling asleep in school, then you're going to have to go to bed earlier. But, you know, and like a good sermon, you know, is when you can keep the person's attention. Sermons are noted for their practical application rather than their attractions and theatrics. You know, you got some people that they really go there because they want to see all these theatrics that they're doing. You know, my great aunt, she used to say, that's a running mad preacher. A preacher needs to just stand flat-footed and preach the word, and instead of running all over the church. That was her thing, you know. But I don't mind, you know, when I see people moving around, I can understand it, and I like that. It's fine, but you know, those theatrics that you be seeing, that's not what it's all about. You know, you got to be relevant, you know, and you know, good illustrations, a lively joke, or an interesting story, and you know, I have been to some churches, or even being a member of the church, and I'm doing everything I can desperately to stay woke. And I'm feeling myself nodding off and things like that. And I said, I know I got enough sleep. But I can truly say that under Pastor Epps, I have never felt that way. I guess because he just keep us so excited of what is he finna do or say next, you know, but I have never felt that way. But I just want to bring these things out. There any comments before we go into the next thing? But I just want to talk about this motivation. So Anthony, were you? Oh, Christopher.
No, I just want to say there are some churches where they're preaching fire, and there's some people who will still be You just find some people like that. I just wanted to say that.
Yes, yes, yes. So it can go either way. That's correct. So now I'm going to, okay, I want to I want to discuss the video that we saw at the end. And he was saying, one of the speakers was saying that about head fight versus heart fight. What do you feel about that? Comments on what do you think that meant? Head fight versus heart fight.
Well, that for me, I've always taught my kids that you make decisions either by what you feel or what you think. And most of the times we'll, start making decisions by what we feel. But I used to tell my kids, I said, I make a decision by what I feel. When that don't work, then I start going with what I think, and then I discard my feelings and move on with what I think. So your head and your heart don't always have to agree, because you can feel one way and think differently. So I think that's what the fight is about, is that the head and the heart don't necessarily agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I had a cousin, and him and his wife, and they was arguing. Well, she was just really in love with him, and he was just doing whatever he felt like he wanted to do, and he was really hurting her a lot. And so she was talking to me about it, and she said she didn't mind talking to me because I never put her down about it. But when she talked to her sisters and her family, they would say, you just crazy for staying with him. You're crazy for keep going back to him. And she was saying, so I can't talk to them. And so she said, but you don't never put me down. Well, first of all, he was my cousin. And so I wasn't trying to cause no rift about stuff. I said, but I do have a question. And she said, what's that? I said, I just want to know, why do you stay? And so she said, well, I stay because I love him and I don't want to be alone. I said, oh, okay. So you don't want to be alone doing what? I said, now she went to work in the mornings. He went to work in the evenings, but he didn't come home until the morning when she was getting ready to go to work. Now he went to work in the evening, so he got off probably around about 11 o'clock that evening, but he didn't come home until about 7 o'clock in the morning, And so I said, so what is it? You don't want to sleep by yourself? That's what you don't want to do by yourself? She said, no, I'm already doing that. I said, what? You don't want to go to the grocery store by yourself? So she said, no, I'm already doing that. I said, what? You don't want to go to prayer meetings on Wednesdays by yourself? Because he went to church with her on Sundays because his daddy was the preacher. And so she said, no, I'm already doing that. I said, so tell me what it is that you don't want to do by yourself, the reason that you staying with him. I said, but you don't have to tell me. You just think about it. What is it? And so anyway, the following week, she called me on the phone and she said, I just want to let you know, I thought about what you said. I'm on my way to California. I'd have packed everything I could in my car and I'd have left. But it was just, I wasn't trying to cut her down or anything. I'm just saying, look at what is the cost, it's your heart and your head. That's that fight that's going on. But how much is it costing you? And to me, I call that self-inflicted torture. When you're going through some stuff and you know better, but you staying in it, you staying involved in it. To me, I just call that self-inflicted torture. So any comments before we move on? And I'm gonna let the last class go. So, okay, so Okay, I want to stop sharing. Okay, so now today, this class is chapter 6. What time is it? Okay, we got time. Okay, so we're going to go on to chapter 6. Let's see, Carlin, welcome. Glad you're here. Justin, glad you're here. Any questions, you two, about anything? I saw Gary. Gary, glad you're here. Okay, any questions about anything, Junior? Any questions about anything so far? So, Carlin?
No, Doc, good night. Not for now. Thanks very much.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to, let me see, what do I have down? Oh, the other day I was talking about the chart about do something. So I should have put it on the thing, but this was the chart that I made, and it was called a do something campaign or do something challenge. And the motivation said participants, to participate, you had to pay $20, and the person that loses the most weight gets the kitty. So that was the motivation, was the to win the $20, you know. Well, it was 4 of us that was participating, so it would have been $80. So whoever lost the most weight would receive the $80. So that was the motivation, was to get the money. And it was said, you keep a daily log, and you put an X in the box for each day that you do something, some type of exercise, you know, which it could be, you know, walking, running, jogging, housework, you know, light exercise. But like I said, sit-ups, jogging, dancing, house cleaning, jumping rope, riding a bike, you know, dieting, but do something. And so this was the challenge that that I came up with. And to let you know, no one won, because the date that we had set that everybody's supposed to come back together, everyone didn't show up. And so we never completed it. And so it's still on. You know, it's supposed to just been 8 weeks, but it's still on because I still have the money, and we haven't all gotten back together again to see who won. You know, one, while I was really doing good, I thought I was going to win. Right now, I have no idea. So, you know, that deadline is passed. And so I don't know, I might start over again. But okay, so I'm going to start with tonight's lesson. And I want to do this one. Share. And share. Okay, Dr. Catherine, do I, nope, I don't have it yet. Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and click there where you were.
Okay, I did, and nothing is happening.
Okay, because we had it set, so all you really have to do was go click on that presentation, but we're not there now. Okay, so when move the cursor up to the top of the menu, and you can just click on the word slideshow, because you're trying to put it in the slideshow mode.
Mm-hmm.
So up at the top in the menu where it says slideshow, you can try that.
I
You know,
don't
at the
see
top, it says
slideshow.
file, it says home, it says insert, draw, design, transition, animation, slideshow.
Oh, over there. Let's see.
Nope,
No,
up
up
here.
at the top, at the very, you know, on the menu across the top. Yeah. Click the one that says slideshow.
Okay, I'm trying to move this out of the way so that I can see that. Because I can't see where it says slideshow.
Okay, so okay. Your menu is in the way?
Yes,
Okay, you remember how you click in a blind spot on the menu?
yes,
Just drag
that's
it?
what I've been doing, but it's not
Okay,
moving.
okay.
Okay. See, I got so many keyboards now in my way. I'm okay, I found it.
Okay.
So slideshow. Okay, now what?
From the beginning. I'm assuming you want to start at the beginning. So right underneath on the left side, it says from the beginning. So you're telling the slideshow where to start.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Now, if you'll click new screen.
New screen.
And the presentation itself. And then when you stop sharing, you just go back always to the presentation and never mess with the PowerPoint anymore. You just share and stop sharing. So do new share. And then you should see the slideshow presentation. Okay. So now whenever you stop, always go back and click that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay. So we're on chapter 6. And that is, do I need to move that menu? Is that
We're
in your
fine.
way?
No, everything's just fine.
Okay. So let me move it up out of my way. Okay, so we're gonna, and this is developmental psychology. And so let's start with Anthony, if you will read it.
Yes, please. Good evening, all. Chapter 6, Developmental Psychology. Developmental psychology is a scientific approach which aims to explain growth, change, and consistency through the lifespan. Developmental psychologists aim to explain how thinking, feeling, and behaviors change throughout life. This field examines change across 3 major dimensions: physical development, cognitive development, and social, emotional development. Developmental psychology is the branch of psychology that focuses on how people grow and change over the course of a lifetime.
You know, I know that you have noticed how, you know, there's a lot of things that when we were growing up and we saw older people doing stuff and we were wondering, why are they doing that? And why are they doing it that way? And now that we're up there with them, now we understand why they're doing certain things. And it's changes is going to happen across the lifespan, you know. And so, okay. And Carlin, if you'll read this one.
Everyone.
Yes.
Principles of human growth and development. Principle 1, development is continuous. The process of growth and development continues from the conception till the individual reaches maturity. Principle 2, development is gradual. It does not come all of a sudden. It's also cumulative in nature. Principle 3, development is sequential. Every species, whether animal or human, follow a pattern of development particular to it. The child crawls before he creeps, stands before he walks, and babbles before he talks. Thank you.
Okay, see, psychologists strive to understand and explain how and why people change throughout life. And like you say, it is sequential. It's continual, it's gradual. A child is not born walking, so it's a continuous growth. I mean, it's gradual. Eventually they're able to, they start off crawling and then eventually they can stand and then they can take a step and walk, so it is sequential as far as our growth is concerned. And I'm not gonna say that you can't skip a step. There's a thing that says that if a child skips, say, crawling and start walking before they crawl, that's something that they have missed in their development, and they have to go back and pick that up. When I was born, I only weighed 2 pounds and 2 ounces. And they really felt like I was going to die, because really back then they wasn't saving babies. They were too small, and especially Black babies. Let's be for real, and so I was really a small child. I was so small they had to carry me on a pillow because I was too small and to carry just in their arms, And so my dad, and the reason I'm here today, because my dad was cheap. He was saying, everybody was telling him that I was going to die anyway because I was too small to live. So my dad said, if she's going to die, let her die at home. And so they took me out of the hospital and sent for my great aunt to come and take care of me so my mom could go back to work. And so my great aunt was very protective over me. She would not let me crawl. She always felt like I was too small. And, as I was growing up, she would never put me down on the floor to crawl because she felt like I was just too small. And so I'm saying this in my own mind, probably something that I put in my own mind because I don't know how I can remember back that far. But it just seems like I could remember when I took my first step. Now, that's something that I didn't put in my mind, but, and I started walking because she would not let me crawl. And it seems like I remember when I started walking, when I took my first step, people were just so happy, and everybody was clapping. How you encourage a child, yay, they walking in there. And I remember thinking, I should have did this a long time ago, if I was going to get that type of reaction, but they were saying that if you skip a step, so I skipped the step of crawling and started walking. But when I was teaching in high school, and I used to teach physical education and science in high school, and I was saying, that's why I was taught physical education, because I was able to get my crawling in. I was start crawling and doing different things on the floor, so that way I was able to go back and pick that up. So, but I know I can't really remember back that far, but in my mind, I feel like I remember when I first started walking. Okay, Justin, if you read the next one.
Sure. Principle number 4, rate of development varies persons to person. Individuals differ in rate of growth and development. Boys and girls have different development rates. Each part of the body has its own particular rate of growth. Principle number 5, development proceeds from general to specific. In all areas of development, general activity always precedes specific activity. For example, the fetus moves its whole body, but it's incapable of making specific responses. Principle number 6. Most traits are correlated in development. Generally, it is seen that the child whose mental development is above average is also superior in so many other aspects like health, sociability, and special aptitudes.
Okay, so with respect to emotional behaviors, infants approach strange and unusual objects with some sort of general fear response. And later, their fears become more specific and elicits different kinds of behavior, such as crying, turning away, and hiding, and etc. So that's, you know, as we grow and we change. Okay, Junior, if you would read this next one.
All right. Principle number 7. Growth and development is a product of both heredity and environment. Development is influenced by both heredity and environment. Both are responsible for human growth and development. Principle number 8. Development is predictable. The difference in sociological and physiological potentialities can be predicted by observation and psychological tests. Principle number 9. Development brings about both structural and functional changes. Principle number 10. There is a constant interaction between all factors of development. Development in one area is highly related to development in other areas. For example, a child who has good health can be active socially and intellectually.
Okay, so that was just a rundown on developmental stages. Any comments? What stood out to you?
What stood out to me is the stage where he said, as a child, we think everyone else sees things the same way that we see them. Well, some people stay in that stage for a while.
Amen. You know, I was thinking the same thing.
Thinking the same thing. It's like they never get out of it. It's like they just stay in it forever. It's like, okay, are you going to get past that phase? Are you going to grow up?
Right. They feel like how they think everybody, the whole world thinks like they do. And if you don't think like they do, you wrong. You know, so that's what stood out to me too. Anything else? Okay, so the time is 4 minutes after. So we're gonna take a break and we'll come back at 14 after a 10-minute break. So we're going to go on and get started again if someone has any comments or.
Yes, I do have well, just a little bit to share based on what we looked at earlier on with Jean Piaget as the famous tourist, which what really stood out for me. He more or less looked at the 4 different stages of a child's development, and the key part of it is very important. For each stage, it's a progressive change within the child, which at the end will result in lifelong success. So that really stood out for me in a nutshell, because for each stage that the child develops, its progressive change is being made. And hence the reason why, when you look at it, we get lifelong success, even to the stage when you reach an adult. So that's what really stood out for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Okay, anyone else before we go on, before we go back to screen share? Okay. We will go back to screen share. And okay, did I get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Oh, maybe before the end of this class. I mean next week, I don't mean today. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Okay, so Christopher, would you take this one?
Sure. Child development principles. Physical, the development and growth of the child's body, muscles, and senses. Social, how the child relates, plays, and talks to others. Emotional, the child's awareness of self, how the child feels about himself, expressions of feelings, and how he helps care for himself. 10 things every child needs. 1, interactions, loving touches, stable relationships, a safe, healthy environment, self-esteem, quality childcare, communication, play.
Okay, so the kids must feel safe and sound with their basic survival needs met, which is shelter, food, clothing, medical care, and protection from harm. Loving touch and babies, the self-esteem that, the loving touch, well, like I said, when I was born, I only weighed 2 pounds and 2 ounces, and they were saying that I wasn't going to make it. I was too small to live. And so my dad, he said, well, if she's going to die, she needs to die at home. And that was the best thing that they could have done, because at home, I was getting that loving touch, when they would hold me and stuff. In the hospital, babies are in incubators when they're too small, so nobody's really touching them. They put their hands in through these glove-like things and do the different things, but they're not really touching the baby. And I learned when I was moving here to Texas, it was something was on the radio and they were talking about premature babies. They were just then, that was been 40 years ago, they were just then starting to save babies that small. And and they were saying, and the key is touch, that human touch. And so that's why I said my dad really saved my life, because he took me out of the hospital where I was not getting that touch. And at home, and especially with my great aunt, they were holding me and touching me, and that's what really saved my life. And where it's saying about self-esteem, that is very, very important, that a child must, you need to build up that self-esteem. One day, this pastor had asked me to go to court with him because he was going with his family. They'd asked him to come. And at the time I was teaching in high school here in Texas. And he asked me if I would go too. Now, this little boy, he was around about, I don't know if he was even 15. I don't know if he was that old yet. But anyway, he had stolen a car and he was taking it home, riding home every day. Now, I'm saying now, the parents know he didn't buy that car, but he driving in the car, going home every day with the car. They caught up with him. And so now he's in court, and the mother was fussing with the boy and talking to him, because she was saying that they had in the report that it was a green car. Let's say it's a green car, and the car was actually blue. And so the boy was saying that car wasn't green, it was blue. And the mother was saying, he need to shut up because he's just brain dead. He's just brain dead. He telling them that the car was blue. He's just brain dead. And I'm looking at this situation, and it's like, she's not helping him at all. I mean, her cutting him down like that was not helping his self-esteem. To me, they knew that boy had stole that car. Why were they even accepting him coming back and forth, driving the car back home and things like that? It's just, and then she's yelling at him, you just brain dead. It's like, okay, where is he getting this from? Okay. So, comments before we move on. Okay. Okay, Stephanie. Stephanie, did I have you just read?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Stephanie.
The basic and essential needs of a modern family. Housing. One of the most important needs of a family is shelter, because every family needs a base. A modern family needs a decent house with dedicated space for each member, right down to the pets. Each member of the family should also be given the autonomy to design their space as they see fit.
And that's something that, I mean, this is what, the books and things say, that, everybody need their own space. But now growing up, and I know
we didn't have our own space.
No, that's what I was saying. We did not have our own space. And pets, if you had a pet, that pet had to fend for itself. Don't give the pet its own space. I mean, this is how they said this will be the perfect world, that you grow up, everybody got their own space. We didn't know anything about having their own space.
But how realistic is that? Because I mean, even if you think in today's world with the economy and nobody really has their own space. You don't see too many families that has that designated space.
Well, the thing about it now, like for instance, I mean, kids may have their own room, and even if they have to share a room, maybe they have half of the room, they can do it. One can do what they want to do, and the other person can do what they want to do. And that's just what they're saying, that would be ideal if everybody had their own space. But in reality, you know, especially when I was growing up, and probably most of you growing up, we did not have our own space. You know, it was like we just had to fit in, or get in where we could fit in, you know. It was 6 of us. So, you know, we didn't have our own space. We did not have a house big enough for us to have our own space, you know, so.
Well, our dog had his own space outside.
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
Can I just say something about this? Just one point. I think even if they're saying that this is good and essential for modern family, but the quality of life for, I want to change that word. I don't want to say primitive. I grew up, I grew up before we had space. We all grew in 5 children in one room. I'm not sure, you know. But the quality of life that we had coming up is a lot different to now the modern family. The respect, the kind of family love. I'm not saying there's never issues, but now the modern family in your own space, you get mad with your mom, you slam the door and you stay in there, you lock in there. When we all grew together, even if you were mad, you could be mad, but you'll be dealt with and you have one space to stay. You know, it was different. And now you can see the morals are different, very different from growing up with everybody having to struggle in one or two little space. But with the whole modern space, and I have nothing against it, my children, they have their own space. But what I'm saying is, the quality of life is a lot different. The respect is a lot different. The warmth of family being there for each other is the great thing. Even if we know the cell phones are bringing us down that same path now, because family could be sitting on the table and everybody on the cell phones. I don't know how that happens. But before, people would eat together. Now you don't see that. I'm not sure about the US, but in the Caribbean, families hardly eat together. And that's just because of all of these essentials of the modern families, which is good. But at the same time, I think too much of it can create a pull away. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Pastor Douglas, it's very similar in the United States. And I totally agree with you, you know, with the family being together, and just the difference in when I raised my children and when I raised my grandson. And while you were speaking, what I thought about is when I was raising my children, and, you know, you dealt with situations, and, you know, a disciplinary action might be, okay, you go to your room. But when I was raising my grandson, go to your room was not a disciplinary action because there were too many things in his room.
Yes. Yes. My cousin used to tell her daughter, you know, a disciplinary action, she would say, okay, you can't read a book, you know, and I was saying, oh, she gonna take a book away? She said, because if I send her to a room, she's gonna go in there and read, and she wants to do that, you know, so she had to take the books away from her so she could, as far as her trying to discipline them. But yeah, like Reverend Catherine is saying, it's not any different over here, you know, and we were basically raised the same way, and especially, you know, in houses. I remember growing up, we had 6 children, but all of us, you know, we didn't have our own bed, especially when we had people moving up from the South, and so you had other families living in some of those rooms instead of spreading our family out. There was a family, you know, about 2 or 3 other families living in the house with you, so they got those rooms, and so, you know, everybody's got to share these rooms, and so it's you know, but like they're saying, the modern family nowadays is not like that, and the respect like you said, things have changed, because a lot of young people feel like, well, I got the right to express myself. I don't remember having that right when I was growing up. It was like, it's like what your parents say, that's this one guy was telling me about dating and going out, and he was saying, well, you're in college now, and your grandmother, you and her should sit down and have a discussion about what time you should be able to stay, how long you could be able to stay out at night and this and that. I said, oh, we already had that discussion, and he said, you need to come to a compromise. I said, we did. He said, well, what's the compromise? She make the rules and I follow. That's the compromise, So, okay, I'm going to go on to Gary. I'm not leaving you out tonight, Gary.
All right, nice. Okay, food. Food is the fuel we need to survive. We need the energy to move around and actually live life. And this energy comes from food. Children especially need a balanced diet to grow properly in mind and body. Moreover, parents can be role models to their children during family meals by showing healthy eating ideas and teaching polite table manners.
Yes, and food is essential, because if a child is not eating and they can't concentrate on tests, they can't concentrate on what else do, because their mind is on when am I going to eat again? Where am I going to get the food? Their mind is there. So food is essential in order for them to even just to be able to think. And so Catherine, if you would take this next one.
Number 3, security. The world has grown in many ways, and this has increased the dangers out there. So every modern family needs protection on all fronts, in the physical world and on the virtual world. There should also be security in the sense that there should be trust between all members of a family. They should be able to effectively communicate and confide in each other. And just a person that does have a technology background, virtual security was very important to me. And when I was raising my grandson, because my kids really weren't in a virtual world, but he was. I always set the parental limits, even on the television. And the TV would go off at a certain time. It would just go off. And Derek came in one night and he said, my television went off. I said, it's telling you it's time to go to bed.
Yes. So security and protection and stuff, and it's up to the older ones in the family to protect the family, because young kids they're innocent and they're oblivious to the dangers that's out there. They, just like your son was saying, the TV just went off. He's oblivious to what's dangers is out there. If you don't protect the young, then they need your protection. They need our protection, and it's up to the older ones to carry that responsibility. Okay, Anthony.
Clothing, geographical location, and other factors determine the type of clothing that will be appropriate. So a family must dress accordingly to protect itself from the elements.
I had a student that in the wintertime, she was about 13 years old, and she would come to school with just a sweater on in the winter. And I was saying, where's you need a coat on, it's cold. Do your parents know that you're out here with just a sweater on? She said, but that's all I got. And so clothing is very important, but like I used to tell my daughter, she would want Guess jeans, you know, and different designer, this and that, which I wasn't doing it. And she was like, Mom, I wanted to get, I said, look, the only thing I'm responsible for is keeping a roof over your head and clothes on your back. And it does not have to be designer clothes, you know, you know, I guess she feel like I gave her a hard time, but but it is important, especially about dressing appropriately for the weather and for their age. You know, you have some let's say some older people wearing grandmothers or whatever, wearing things that's inappropriate for them to be wearing. And then you have I don't know if you remember John Bonet, this little girl, I don't know if she was about 5 or 6 years old, and she would be in all these beauty contests and stuff, and they would dress her like she was a grown lady, you know, just really making her sexy and everything. And I truly believe that's what cost her life, because someone broke into their home, into her bedroom, and anyway, took her out of the house and ended up killing her. And because, you know, this grown old man person had fallen in love with her. Here she was about 5 or 6 years old. Reverend Catherine.
Well, I was just going to share with the class that Dr. Elliott is telling us so much about her daughter, and you guys will meet her because she will be teaching our personal and social values class. So y'all remember all these things she's telling you.
And just like I talk about her all the time, she talk about me all the time. So, but the bad stuff, don't believe that. Don't believe that. So, okay. So, where are we? So, Anthony, or did you just speak?
Yes, did.
Okay. So we're back to Carlin.
Oh, Bianca has her hand up. I think she may not have
Okay,
spoken yet.
Bianca.
I was gonna give it a go because I haven't read as yet. Okay, so effective communication. Effective communication is the foundation of any great relationship. It creates a conducive environment for expression. The modern family should take advantage of technology to enhance communication. However, members must not try to replace face-to-face communication with these modes. Communication does not have to be only verbal. There are non-verbal forms of communication. Hugs are natural antidepressants.
Okay, you know, I'm saying that not everything has to be resolved with words. And now think about when you were growing up. Your mother or your grandmother, they didn't have to say a word to you. They could look at you and you knew what that meant and you knew what to do. They didn't have to say a word. You know, it was their eyes. They could look at you and you knew, okay, I better straighten up, you know? So everything, communication is not just in words. Okay, Juba, we haven't heard from you tonight.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, talking about education. Families and education have a very close relationship. The family is where everything starts, even before formal education. Families must be educated and conscious to raise successful, intelligent, and creative children. A kid's education starts at home. Parents are their first teachers, and they have a key role in shaping up their character. Education must be high on the priority list of any family.
And that's true. And because how the parents feel about education, that's what they're instilling in their children. A child can learn on a scale is highly related to how they are treated at home. You know, Raquel, when she was in junior high, I remember she came home one day and she said they were sitting around talking about what they're going to do when they get out of high school. And she was saying, oh, I'm going to college. And her friends were saying, you already know you're going to college? And she said, well, yeah. In Ella's house, it's 11th grade, 12th grade, 13th grade, 14th grade. You know, you continue to go to school. And I just felt like she knew that education was important. And so she was already ready for it. And I just felt like, isn't everybody, you know, teaching their kids that? Although I had another friend who, she never liked school, although she went to college, she still didn't like it. She just went to college because her friends was going to college. And so her kids, when they were going to school, she would come up with any reason for them not to go. Oh, let's just go to the show today. Let's do a play day today. You don't have to go to school. We're going to go to the show. We're going to do this and that. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And she said, well, it's just a review day. They just reviewing for the finals. And so they don't have to go to school today. That's important to go to school on a review day. But education was never important to her. And so she made it not important to her children. So, okay, Justin.
Sure. 7, access to information technology. The internet has grown in leaps and bounds over the years. Technology now has a regular and functional presence in our everyday lives. Every family needs access to the internet. A family must stay up to date on what's happening and new inventions to be able to compete effectively in the society. Information technology also makes learning easy, which makes educating every member of the family easy.
Yes, and I know Dr. Catherine can speak on that. Technology, I mean, it's everywhere. And the thing about it, the kids know more about technology than we do. I'm not talking about Dr. Catherine, but I'm talking about most of us. You know, if something happened and you got a problem, most of the time you can go ask some young person and they'll know how to solve it. So, but they've got to have that because, you know, everything is done over the internet now. You know, a lot of classes, I mean, we're doing it over the internet, but because of COVID, that's how a lot of schools and colleges are teaching is virtual. So that access to information technology is very important.
My grandson really did not, and his friends did not like the fact that I did know so much about technology because they could have fooled me like they could fool their parents. And that was one of my disciplinary tools with the cell phone. If my grandson, he had broken curfew a couple of times. So I told him, you're gonna have to, I'm gonna take your cell phone for 2 weeks. So I looked around one day and noticed that he had gone in my bedroom and on the dresser and he got his cell phone. And I guess he thought I wouldn't notice that he had his cell phone. So I sent him a text message and I said, actually, you can go ahead and keep your cell phone because I can go online and shut down all your services anyway.
Oh my gosh, I know they hate that you know all of that. Okay. Okay, so where are we? Junior. Junior, if you would take the next one.
Health. One of the most important things for the family to access one of the most important things for the family is access to medical care. Attention should be paid to family health and history as family members share their genes, as well their environment, lifestyle, and habits. So there is a possibility for there to be risk for certain diseases.
Yeah, so that's the modern family. That's very important that we share information, because especially with things that's going on, or prevention of diseases and managing existing conditions and stuff, is very important that we be concerned and have access to medical care. And
I can go here.
Christopher.
Oh.
Oh, was someone saying something that you want to?
I volunteered because
Oh, I'm sorry.
a whole lot of persons went before, so
Go right ahead, Bianchini. Go right ahead.
Yeah, because I can get him later. So I'm doing you like I did Gary the other day. I just left him out. So I'm okay.
I saw that video actually. I was catching up. So love. Being a part of a family means you are part of something very wonderful. It means you will be loved unconditionally for all of the time. Love is the bond that keeps a family together.
Yeah, and the thing about it, when Raquel was growing up, and as you see, I do talk about her a lot, but I remember she told me one day, I know I'm loved. And that's the way you want your kids to be, because she said, I'm loved by my aunts and uncles, my cousins, and my grandpa, everybody. She said, I know I'm loved, and that made me feel good that at least she knew it, that she was loved. And that's important in a family. Okay, now we're going to go on to Christopher.
And Bianca, you sure you don't want this one as well?
I don't have a problem, brother. Would you like me to go?
I don't want,
No, because I'm gonna get her next. She's gonna be the next one. So
okay, you do the next one. Okay.
Yes.
Order. As much as it is important for there to be love and freedom of expression in the family, order is also needed to keep things running smoothly. There should be an order to things. The younger members of the family must respect the older members, and each member should recognize and accept their responsibilities and be responsible for fulfilling them.
Yes, and my thing was always children must play the role of a child. I took Raquel to Detroit. I had a girlfriend live there, and this is when she was about 5 years old. And I was going there to go out and party with my girlfriend, and she was staying with some other relatives that we had there in Detroit. And so I remember Raquel was saying, oh, Mama, they're going to be pinching my cheeks and holding me in their lap and treating me like I'm a baby. And, she wasn't liking that. And I said, Raquel, look, you are the youngest one in the family. Everybody is going to treat you like a baby because that's how they feel that you're a baby, and this was even the kids that were there at my uncle's house, they were older than Raquel. So she was like, they're going to be pinching my cheeks and they're going to be treating me like I'm a baby and holding me and kissing on me and stuff. I said, Raquel, let me tell you something. You have to learn to play the role. You are a child. You are the baby in the family. I said, if you learn to play the role, you'll get everything you want this weekend. Just play the role. You're a child. Play that role. When I came to pick her up that Sunday, Raquel ran out to the car. She jumped in the car. She said, Mama, I played the role and I got everything I wanted. So now to this day, she's always said, Mama, young people know how to play the role? Kids want to want to act grown. They want you to treat them like they're grown till they get in trouble. Then the first thing they say, well, I'm just a child, But like I said, children must learn to play the role. Don't be trying to be an adult and you just a child. Comments before we go. Yes, Bianca.
I agree to some extent. I do believe children must feel respected or must be shown some sort of respect as well, because I had to some point I had a really crappy childhood when it comes to family and family friends whom I trusted, right? And I one of the reasons I didn't say anything or speak out when I had the chance to, it was because I was told that children must respect the older folks, and it's basically to be seen and not heard and all these things. So I didn't feel that it was my place to say much, so I kept my mouth shut for majority of the time. So with my children, yes, I let them know that they have to show respect, but I also let them know that they deserve to be respected. And I know, well, what was mentioned before, it was speaking out, right? And I allow my children to speak out, and I ask them that if they're doing so, they do it respectfully, but I give them that chance to speak, because I remember growing up, there were so many things, that was affecting me, and I couldn't say it because I didn't have that right. I didn't have that right? So I remember that, and so that's the way I parent now. I allow my children to speak up, to speak out, just do so respectfully, and I allow them to understand that they too deserve to be respected. That's just my thing.
Yes, and that's true. And what we're saying about respect, I'm not saying that children should not speak up. I believe that children should speak up, but my thing is speak up in a respectful way. Don't be disrespectful. But yes, speak up, but remember to do it in a respectful way.
Exactly.
Yes. And so, Bianca, you take this last one.
Yes, gladly. The conclusion, every family is unique. The needs of each family won't be exactly the same. I agree with that. But the basic needs won't stray far from housing, health, education, and the other factors. A second generation of believers typically loses the vitality of the first generation. May I go back again? The second generation of believers typically loses the vitality of the first generation. By the third and fourth generations, the faith of the fathers is lost. The solution to spiritual decline is for each generation to be first generation Christians. We must help adolescents develop a distinct faith of their own, the result of a genuine encounter with Christ. I believe this is true as well.
Yes, a lot of times you hear we're going to say the second and third generation be saying, well, they're not worried. I'm not worried about anything because I know my grandmother's praying for me. My mother is praying for me, or my grandmother is praying for me. So they feel like they're protected. But what is their relationship to God? Not just what the grandparents have done or is doing. So then their children start looking at it like, they have been so removed from that situation that they don't have that relationship with God, because, their parents are saying they're dependent on what the grandparents is doing for them. So we have got to teach young people to have a relationship with God themselves, their own direct relationship. Bianca.
That is true. One thing I have started doing, not much family members agree with it or friends because they're thinking, oh, you're brainwashing the children. But it started off with just Bible stories, but we would discuss the moral of the story and how to apply certain things to our lives, or if we're up against something or a situation such as the one shown in the story, how can we handle it? I encourage them to pray on their own. You know, it's not just our Father who art in heaven, and you know, you're saying it robotically. It's no feelings. If they're down that road, I'm like, stop. You're speaking to the Lord. You know, come on, this is not how we do it, right? My daughter, she's 11. I don't encourage her with just these daily prayers that they say from since they're, you know, children. I would encourage her to think about her day and think about the things, you know, she would like to speak to the Lord about. You know, if she had a difficult day, take it to the Lord and these sorts of things. So, you know, I would express to my friends and family members who don't quite agree with it that I want my children to be well balanced, right? Not that when they're up against a situation, they want to resort to drinking or lashing out at anybody or all sorts of things, you know, but that they can resort to prayers and they have seen the things God has done for them. We would have discussions. I would be like, so what has the Lord done for you recently? And, you know, they sometimes they can't really differentiate, or they can't really point it out, but I would say, okay, you're alive today, you're breathing, you're eating. My daughter would say, oh, I had a really nice day for some reason, and I'm like, the Lord, right? So I teach them how to point out, how to recognize certain things, that this is of God, not because it's so simple, it isn't, but it's of God. So they have that relationship at a pretty young age. I agree, it's very important as well.
Yes, we've got to teach them to have their own relationship with God and not depend on, well, my daddy praying for me, you know, I'm covered because I know my daddy is praying for me, you know. They've got to know that, you know, because some people will go back and they'll go back and ask their grandparent, or I got a problem that I'm going through, I need you to pray. I need you to pray. Yes, it's nothing wrong with asking your mother or your grandparents or whatever to pray for you, but you have to have a relationship with God yourself, and you need to pray, you know, and have that connection with God. And so we have to teach our young people. I think you're doing a great job. That's just my opinion. I think you're doing a great job, Bianca, to teach them in that way, to have their own connection with God. So are there any other comments? Well, I'm going to, before we close out, I'm just reminding you that I will have exam number 2. I will send that to you tonight. It will again be matching. This time, I think I kind of made it a little easier and clear. It's 2 parts, but I kind of got them all on the same page, so you don't have to flip back and forth. And so that I will be sending that to you this evening, you know, after the class. And so let's see, anything else before? Let me stop this share. Okay, so Joan, you made it. Oh, wow, we missed you. You made it.
I did. My other class ended and I just came over here.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, since we didn't have you to read and we missed your voice tonight, I'm gonna ask you to pray for us to close this lesson out. But before then, I want to know if somebody else has something else to say. Christopher, I see you open.
Yeah, I was trying to I know the assignments is for Saturday, so I'm not going to ask you now. Can you permit me Sunday, please?
Yes.
I had a long day, and tomorrow I have about 4 hours of training again. And then after that is worship practice. I'm not going to have any time tomorrow, and then it's Sunday's church. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes. And if anyone else needs that time,
No one else, just me.
no one else. Okay.
I am asking.
I would like to call some time.
Thank you, Christopher.
Okay, so we're going to
Dr. Jones,
time.
I am also asking for a little grace. What happened is that we have an exam on Tuesday, God's will, and the amount of documents we have to go through is kind of, I'm way behind. So can I just send it just a little later by Sunday morning, God's will?
Yes, I'll just change the time and say as long as I get it by Sunday 11:59 Sunday night, that's fine.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
everybody has that grace. So
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so we will. So I'm asking Joan if she will close us out with a prayer.
Sure. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for who you are. Lord, we thank you that you continue to mold us into your image and your likeness. And so, Lord, as we have learned tonight, God, I ask in the name of Jesus that you will allow us to understand your purpose for our lives individually, collectively. I pray that everything tonight that was taught, Lord, that lives will be transformed, lives will be encouraged, Lord, but most of all, we will retain those things and allow the practical side of it, Lord, to be implemented in your kingdom so that others will benefit from this class. Lord, I pray for those of us on this line tonight who have a very hectic weekend. I ask, Lord God, that you will fill us with your spirit, Lord. I pray that you will allow us not to be anxious for nothing, but we will just pace ourselves and allow not for anxiety to capture us, Lord, but depending on you, Lord, as long as we do our part. May you bless us this weekend. May your hands of protection be over each family member and every person that's represented on this line. Pray again for Dr. Jones, Lord, you'll continue to equip her. Lord, may you cause her to understand that it is not by might nor by power, but it is by your spirit that we can do all things through you and in you. Bless us as we separate from each other, but not from your presence. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.